All right, some growers like to use CO2. If you can afford it, it's very well worth your while. It really adds production and really vibrant growth to the plants. They really like it. You can actually, at most grow shops, you can exchange CO2 tanks. You'll have a little a gauge, an emitter. You can adjust it to how many parts per million you want to drop on your plants, and it has like a little hose, like a little ring that's a hose, and it's got little small holes in it. And through the meter, you can adjust it to how many parts per million, and it has a sensor inside there, and you want to mount it above your plants, right above your plants, and the meter will gauge how many parts per million are in the air. And once it gets a little low, it'll click on and it'll drop the CO2 onto your plants. You can go online and it'll tell you how many parts per million. I generally run around 1,200 parts per million to 1,500, something like that, when I'm doing CO2. And with the gauge, it's a little costly. I'm not gonna fool you. It's kind of costly, but it also pays for itself in yield. And it's only, you really don't need it during flowering time. I generally use it only during growth and the first 2 or 3 weeks of flower when it's really doing its stretch. After that, other growers use it. I've never noticed any increase in the size of my flowers using it beyond that point. It was just a waste of money for me. But the equipment is a little costly, but if you can afford it, I suggest that. There's also a CO2 burner that you can buy, and it runs off of propane. You can just exchange the little tanks, and they're easier to come by. You can go to your hardware store or whatever and turn them in, and but it is an open flame. So if you're worried about an open flame in your grow, don't use the CO2 burner. But in the northern climates, it actually adds a little heat to the room, and they're actually pretty good. If it's a real hot climate, I wouldn't suggest using that style at all.